those people who've followed the Aquarium Man channel for a while are a little surprised to see me outside of the aquarium basement. But yes, the aquarium basement does have a house on top of it. So we're upstairs today because we're going to focus on something different. We're going to talk about going to a fish swap or an aquarium convention. In my case, I'll be going to the Keystone Clash in a few days. And when I'm there, I'm going to want to take advantage of the opportunity to purchase fish from a bunch of vendors that'll be coming in from all different areas, from fish breeders and from hobbyist breeders. It's an excellent opportunity to get some high quality fish for a great price and fish that are sourced essentially locally, right? I'm in Maryland, but this will probably have vendors from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, maybe New York, but essentially it's similar conditions. So for example, if you live in Texas and you have very hard water and you're sourcing fish from, say, Washington State where they have very soft water, you know, there could be a little bit of a process to adapt those fish to the new water conditions, and you might lose some fish in that process. When you go to a local fish swap, you know, a quasi-local, you know, somewhere within, say, 100 miles or so, it's likely that the water conditions are similar and that transition will be much smoother. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you the equipment I use to both house the fish at the convention in my hotel room for multiple days safely and effectively, as well as transporting those fish home. And there's more to it than just equipment. I'll show you basically my secret weapon. The way I approach this that has never failed me. It does an amazing job, and it mitigates the risks you would associate with setting up a brand new container to put fish in, you know, that isn't cycled or anything. So we're going to address all of that. And the key thing is it's easy to do, it's inexpensive, and it's incredibly effective. It just works because hopefully you guys are like I am, and when you take on ownership of a fish, you're a steward of that fish, and you want what's best for them. And within reason, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that fish's transition to your home aquariums is as less stressful and as easy as possible. And of course, you want to maintain the fish's health so they don't pass away in transit. So let's get into it. Okay, there's essentially going to be two parts of this. I'm going to show you the equipment that I use to transport the fish, and then we're going to go down to the fish basement. I'm going to show you my quote-unquote secret weapon to make sure the fish are not only housed safely in the hotel room for 2-3 days at a time, no problem, but also transported safely back home. So I have well water at my house, but obviously in a hotel room, that sort of thing, you're going to have to condition that water. So let's just start off with the easy thing. You're going to need some type of water conditioner to remove chlorine and chloramine, and I've just chosen the least expensive here, you know, the API Quick Start, and then a little bit of Stress Guard. Never hurts to sort of provide the fish with aids to help with their slide coat. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need a container to put the fish in. So what I have here is essentially when you fill this full of water, it stretches out and it becomes essentially a square, little mini square aquarium. Now this is meant for bait fish and things like that. And the reason I like these is you have this, first of all, you have a clear top so you can see down into the fish, so you can keep an eye on them without having to open and close something and disturb the fish. You let natural light in, you know, again, not direct, but ambient natural light, which is good. And you have gas exchange with this grate here, but also the fish can't jump out. And there's a pre-built hole, which is going to allow us to put a tube down to introduce air into this system. So these are really nice. And this one here, this is only something like a $15 to $20 bag. And when you're not using them, they condense down flat. Now, I got to tell you, these kind here, they're not of the greatest quality. Like, obviously, if you're a fisherman and you're going fishing all the time and you got bait fish, these kind of things will fall apart. They make versions of these that are more like $60, you know, but they're meant to last, to be used over and over and over again frequently. These here, they last quite a while if you're a fish keeper and you go to a couple swaps or fish conventions a year, and you know you're using them 2 to 4 times a year, and you take care of them. They'll last quite a while, and they're very inexpensive, and they work great. The next thing is you need some sort of air pump. So I like the ones that are USB air pumps because I have long USB cables, and modern hotels, you can plug the USB cables into the water pump and into the plug, and you pretty much have just unlimited power. As well as my vehicle, in the back of the vehicle, I have where there's an adapter for a cigarette lighter type plug to USB ports, so I don't have to worry about batteries or anything. I can just continually power these, no problem, and I just have one for each one of my transport bags. And then lastly is a temperature gun. These are, I don't know, $7-8. You know, they're inexpensive. They're very effective for, you know, when you're at the hotel room, you're filling this bag up full of water, you can get the temperature right with this. You don't have to shock your fish with temperature. It's easy to keep track of that. And have a flashlight with you. These fish, you know, they've been transported a bunch of times. They're in unusual conditions for them, right? It's not a nice, well aquascaped aquarium where they're going to feel comfortable. So if you need to, the flashlight is good for spotting any signs of any illness or anything like that. And lastly, what I don't have here is I do recommend bringing some basic medications like Ic-X and General Cure in case there's any sort of obvious infection on the fish. You could treat that as well. All right, now let's go down to the aquarium basement and I'll show you my secret weapon, you know, the thing that really makes this a bulletproof solution for storing the fish temporarily and transporting them back home. So before I show you the secret weapon, I thought I would just show you the reason it's so important to me to be able to get a good deal on fish. This is a 1,200 gallon aquarium I'm working on. This is one that is further along. It's got its first coat of paint, another 1,200 gallon aquarium, and there's the 4,500 gallon Sneaky River aquarium. All these tanks are still being stocked, so it's important for me to have opportunities like fish swaps and conventions to get good deals on quality fish that are not always easy to find. Okay, so we're down in the fish basement and we're at the business end of the 600 gallon Asian jungle. So this is the first chamber of the sump. We have sort of the settling chamber, we have the vegetable filter in the back, and then we transition over to a bunch of biomedia in the return pump. So what I do in all of these sumps is I keep a whole bunch of biomedia, which you can see there. I keep, so you can see the biomedia on the ground, the sticks, that's part of the filtration for the tank, but these bags full of biomedia are just ones I keep in there for instances like when I need to transport fish or start a quarantine tank up. So we have biomedia and we have a bucket and we're going to take tank water. Now normally what I would do is grab the water straight out of the display aquarium, but rather than remove the tops, I'm just going to grab some from the sump. Okay, so all we're looking to do is have enough water that we can fully cover the biomedia we're going to put in there in water, and we're going to create enough space for the roots because we're also going to add a couple floating plants. Okay, so I've grabbed one bag of the biomedia and now I'm going to grab a couple of my water lettuce from the back of my vegetable filter there. Okay, so we're back upstairs. So this is the key here. So what do we have? We have cycled biomedia with nitrifying bacteria. So that's going to break down fish waste and ammonia. And we have it in fish tank water. So there is something for it to feed on the way up to the fish swap or the the convention or whatnot. So we don't want to put fresh water in there. We want tank water because this bucket right here is just for transporting the biomedia and the plants. And so the reason the floating plants are so key is that floating plants love nothing more than to eat ammonia. That's their first choice. We all think nitrate and everything, but ammonia is their first choice. So if you have any type of floating plant, they are amazing for holding fish in brand new transport environments like the one there that we would be setting up in the hotel room, or also on the transportation on the long ride back. So they have unlimited access to atmospheric CO2, so they are ready to go to uptake any amount of ammonia from the water, as well as nitrate, but we're not going to have nitrate problems over the course of just a few days. So this is key. This is planning ahead. So we've got cycled biomedia and floating live plants in a bucket that we're going to bring with us to the swap or convention. So now we literally got everything we need. We have a container that's going to allow us to inject air into the aquarium and have gas exchange and allow live plants access to atmospheric CO2. We've got fresh water that will go in there from the hotel room. We have the tools to condition that water and to test the temperature of the water and make sure it is the same temperature as whatever the water the fish are in the bags. And we have cycled biomedia put into that new aquarium. So we have basically a jump-started aquarium environment that is, in a sense, cycled because of the media and the plant. So it's important to note that this is a limited cycled environment. So a truly cycled environment is going to have bacteria growing all over the floor, the substrate of the container, the walls of the container, all that sort of thing. And hopefully it's going to have a lot more bacteria and water flow than what we're going to have in this environment. So that would be, you know, like your aquarium environment. But this is a partially cycled environment, and it's good enough for 2 to 3 days of holding and transport, as long as you're not introducing any food in the aquarium, which there's no need to do that. You don't need to feed the fish for this short period of time. This amount of bacteria, cycled bacteria on the biomedia and what's on the plant and what the plants can uptake in terms of ammonia from the water, it's enough to get you through a few days, especially with the size of fish that could fit in this container. So it is a great way to house the fish temporarily and transport them and reduce the stress on the fish. So because we did the upfront legwork and we brought with us the right equipment, we took the time to bring a bucket with fish water, with cycled biomedia in it, with live bacteria on it, and with live floating plants. We positioned ourselves to not only house fish for a few days, but also transport them over a long distance. So we have 2 ways to remove ammonia from the water. The plant can uptake the ammonia as a food source, or the aerobic bacteria can break it down into nitrite and nitrate, which we're familiar with as part of the nitrogen cycle. We've also brought with us a temperature gauge, a way to make sure that the water we're adding to the aquarium is the same as the temperature of the water from the bags of fish that we've purchased. We have the conditioner to make that water safe for the fish by removing the chlorine and chloramine. And of course, I know some of you might have already commented, but we have test strips because we have to test the water to make sure that we are not seeing spikes in ammonia or anything like that, in which we would have to take other measures, which would be water changes or adding in more of the stress coat and nitrifying bacteria to try to remove that from the water. So in addition to everything I've talked about, we're going to want to have our ability to test the water, and it's always nice to be able to have nitrifying bacteria. So in case you have a ammonia spike, which you shouldn't, I've done this many times and I never have. But of course, it all depends on the amount of fish you're putting in there, right? So I have been keeping fish for a long time, so I'm pretty good at gauging the amount of fish for the environment I've got set up for them. But if somebody goes crazy, or even if I find just the perfect fish, I've only got my 2 containers and I have to overload one of them. What I can do to keep that ammonia in check is I can do more frequent water changes, and I can also add nitrifying bacteria. So with all these things in place and with a little bit of upfront legwork, we can safely purchase fish at conventions and swaps, house them for multiple days in the hotel room, and get them safely home without stressing the fish, and more importantly, without killing any fish, so that we can get these guys into our quarantine system and ultimately into our aquariums where we can enjoy them for many years to come. And of course, if we're going to be holding fish for multiple days, we're going to be able to do some water changes. So since we've taken the cycled media and put it into the travel containers, and we have the plants in there, we can reuse the bucket to put fresh water into, so that we can condition that water and get the temperature right before we add it into the travel tanks that we have set up. So multiple uses for the bucket, gets us our secret weapon up there to the convention or to the swap, and it also helps us do water changes to keep that water quality perfect. And so here's an example of the portable aquarium setup. You can see it's all full of water. We have the air pump up on top, and we have 2 air stones going. This is a dual pump. So we got one over there, one over there. We've got the plant floating here in the middle, and the biomedia down at the bottom. So we've got our gas exchange, everything. It's nice and quiet, and doesn't take up a lot of space. And of course, we've got the handle, so we're ready to carry it out to the car when we're ready to leave the hotel room. But super simple, super effective. And like I said, it's worked for me many, many times, and I'm getting ready to use it to purchase, hopefully, a lot of fish that I'm looking for, which, you know, it'll add up when you're trying to put fish into 1,200 gallon, 750 gallon aquarium. So I definitely want to protect those purchases. Not only do I care about the health and well-being of the fish, but obviously you don't want to spend a bunch of money and then have them not make it home. So it's important to do this right, and if you follow the steps in this video, I believe you'll have the same level of success that I've had, which is so far 100%.